What if I told you there's a real prison, operating right now, where not a single guard steps inside the housing units? A prison where inmates hold the keys, manage daily routines, study, work, and enforce rules themselves. A place where escape rates are shockingly low, and rehabilitation rates are some of the best in the world. This is the prison with 0 guards inside. And today, we are stepping through its front gate. By the end of this story, you might rethink everything you believe about crime, punishment, and what a prison is supposed to be. The facility is part of the APAC system, Association for the Protection and Assistance of Convicts, one of the most unconventional correctional models ever created. There are walls. There are locked doors. There are people serving sentences for actual crimes. But once you pass the front gate, everything changes. Because inside, ***, there are no guards, no weapons, no shouting, no chaos, just structure, purpose, responsibility, and trust. APAC is voluntary. Inmates choose to transfer into it from Brazil's overcrowded traditional prisons. And once inside, they face a radically different world. Visitors describe the same moment. A staff member, usually a psychologist, not an officer, walks them to the door and says, "You'll be greeted by the inmates." No escort. No guard walking beside you. You simply walk in. And the people who welcome you, the prisoners themselves. This is the first sign that APAC is not built on fear. It's built on responsibility. Every inmate signs a commitment when entering APAC. They agree to attend daily reflection meetings, work or study every day, participate in emotional and educational programs, enforce the rules among themselves, maintain respect for others and themselves. And here's the part that shocks almost everyone. If someone skips class, inmates talk to them. If someone isolates, inmates bring them back into the community. If someone breaks a rule, the group addresses it constructively. This system turns inmates into leaders and contrasts sharply with traditional prisons where people often lose their sense of identity. The sound of a bell at 6 a.m. starts the day. But instead of guards pacing the hallways, it's inmates who go around waking everyone up. Not with aggression, but with leadership. The morning begins with a reflection session known as the encounter. People read short passages, share thoughts, or discuss personal goals. For many inmates, this is the first time they've ever been asked, "How are you feeling today?" After breakfast, the prison divides into work and study groups. Some learn trades like carpentry, baking, welding, and agriculture. Others attend classes or training sessions led by volunteers. And throughout all of this, workshops are led by inmates. Classrooms are supervised by inmate coordinators. Household tasks are rotated weekly. It works because the inmates choose to make it work. Every visitor remembers the same moment. An inmate walks up to a door, pulls out a key, and opens it. Yes, inmates carry the keys to their own spaces. And they don't run. Why? Because APAC offers them something more valuable than escape. A genuine chance to change their lives. Running away means returning to a traditional prison. Returning to overcrowded cells. Returning to hopelessness. So most inmates protect APAC like it's their own home. Because in a way, it is. The secret behind APAC is simple. When someone is trusted, they often begin behaving in a way that honors that trust. When someone is treated humanely, they start acting humanely. When someone believes they have a future, they stop trying to run from the present. APAC focuses on responsibility, community healing, work structure, personal growth, and it works. Its reoffending rate is dramatically lower than regular prisons. Graduates leave with job skills, education, emotional tools, a sense of purpose. This isn't a prison that destroys people. It's a prison that rebuilds them. And this is where our story deepens. Because to truly understand how a guard-free prison works, we need to follow the journey of someone who lived through it. Someone who entered APAC expecting chaos and found something entirely different. His name is Daniel. He's not defined by the worst moment of his life, but he is defined by what he did after that moment. And his transformation inside APAC will take us deeper into the heart of a prison with no guards. Daniel arrived at APAC on a cloudy afternoon. But he wasn't escorted by officers. He wasn't handcuffed. He wasn't shouted at. He simply walked through the gate with a counselor holding a clipboard. For the first time in months, nobody barked orders at him. Nobody pushed him. Nobody glared. He had braced for a harsh environment, but instead felt something unsettling, calm. That calm made him nervous. uncertain, suspicious. As the counselor opened the inner gate, Daniel expected to see guards waiting. But instead, he was welcomed by 3 inmates. One shook his hand. One carried his bag. One introduced himself as the trust leader. No hostility, no tension, just an unusual sense of respect. Daniel didn't understand it yet, but he would soon. The trust leader walked him down the hallway and explained the most important rule of APAC. No one is here to serve punishment. We are here to serve transformation. Daniel had never heard anything like that. In his previous prison, transformation wasn't even a concept. Survival was the only priority. But here, inmates weren't competing, they were collaborating. The trust leader handed Daniel a small booklet. Inside were the core principles of APAC: responsibility, honesty, discipline, work, reflection, respect, simple words, but new to someone who spent years being treated as a problem rather than a person. Daniel expected a cell with bars. He expected a cement bed, a metal toilet, and the constant noise of tension. Instead, his room looked almost like a small dorm. A real bed, clean sheets, a desk, a window. But what shocked him most was the key on the table. The trust leader said, "This is your key. Don't lose it. It's your responsibility now." Daniel froze. A key? In a prison? It didn't make sense. It felt like a trick. But no one snatched it back. No one hovered over him. He held it in his hand and felt confused, empowered, terrified. Responsibility is heavy when you aren't used to carrying it. At dinner, Daniel walked into a dining hall full of noise, but not the kind he expected. No shouting, no arguments, no officers patrolling, just conversations, people laughing, people studying books between bites. The food wasn't luxurious, but it was cooked by inmates, served by inmates, and eaten respectfully by inmates. When Daniel sat down, an older man across from him smiled and asked, "First day?" Daniel nodded. "You'll adjust. This place changes you." "Changes me how?" Daniel asked. The man pointed at the heart. "From here." Before lights out, inmates gathered in a circle for evening reflection. No one was forced, but everyone attended. The leader asked each person one question: "What did you learn today?" Daniel didn't want to speak. He didn't even understand the place yet. But when it was his turn, he whispered, "I learned that trust is the strangest feeling in the world, when you're not used to having it." The room fell silent, not in judgment, but in understanding. Because every man there had felt the same on day one. That night, Daniel lay in bed holding his key. He could lock his door if he wanted, or leave it open. No guards would be checking on him. No officers would be shining flashlights into his face. No loud arguments or frightening noises in the hallway. Just quiet. He didn't know whether to feel safe or overwhelmed. APAC wasn't soft. It wasn't comfortable. It wasn't easy. It was challenging in a way he had never experienced. It demanded honesty. It demanded responsibility. It demanded growth. And as Daniel closed his eyes, he realized something. For the first time in a long time, he wasn't afraid of the people around him. He was afraid of the person he might become. And as we step back from the walls of APAC, from the rooms without bars, from the hallways without guards, and from the lives being rebuilt day by day, we are left with a question that lingers quietly inside us. What truly keeps a person locked in place? Bars or belief? For decades, the world has seen prisons as places of control, places where you break someone down until they follow the rules. But in APAC, we see a different idea, that sometimes rebuilding a life begins with rebuilding the human spirit. This prison challenges everything we assume about justice. It asks us to imagine a world where transformation is not an accident, but the goal. Because when you walk through an APAC facility, you don't see chaos. You don't see fear. You don't see men waiting out the clock. You see something else, something rare in the world of incarceration. You see people working toward a future they actually want to be part of. It raises a deeper, more uncomfortable question. If trust can work here, in a place built for punishment, why do we believe it can't work out there, in our own communities, our schools, our systems, our lives? For Daniel, and for thousands of others who step inside this unconventional prison, the journey isn't about serving time. It's about confronting themselves, the choices they made, the people they hurt, the past they tried to run from, and the future they're trying to build. APAC doesn't promise perfection. It doesn't claim to fix everyone. Not every story is easy, and not every transformation is smooth. But what APAC proves is simple. Change is possible when you give people the tools to fight for it. No guards, no shouting, no intimidation, just responsibility, discipline, and the belief that a human being is more than their worst moment. And maybe that's why this place works. Not because it's soft, not because it's lenient, but because it's challenging in a way most prisons never are. It forces accountability, not through fear, but through purpose. So as we leave this prison with no guards inside, we carry with us more than a surprising story. We carry a reflection. If a system built on trust can save lives inside prison, what could trust do in the world outside of it? Because transformation isn't born from walls or chains. It's born from opportunity, from guidance, from the willingness to look forward instead of being trapped by what's behind you. This is the heart of APAC, a place that doesn't just hold people, it helps them rise. A place that challenges us to rethink justice, to rethink punishment, to rethink humanity, and maybe to rethink what freedom truly means. Thank you for watching. If this story opened your mind, even a little, stay with us by subscribing. There are more stories out there that challenge what we think we know and redefine what's possible.